truly don't know how people got through this crazy drama. My neighbor's dog is going bat out there. So if you hear it, it's this little yippy one. It's loud. Starting us off, my younger brother passed away 5 years ago and his ex-roommate stole his Bitcoins afterwards. What a piece of shite, since I can't say the real word. Ugh. I'm already angry. This story came September 8th, 2016. My younger brother passed away nearly 5 years ago from an overdose, which devastated my family at the time. That's so sad. I knew he was into substances and continually warned him about it, but he assured me that he had it under control. I couldn't really take the high moral ground anymore since he knew I had almost indulged in myself in my younger days, though that wasn't exactly a secret in the family. I was posted overseas when it happened, and I felt some guilt that if I hadn't been away, I would have been able to prevent him being influenced by his circle of friends at the time, but ultimately I realized I am not my brother's keeper. Afterwards, I assisted my parents with putting his belongings into storage to be sorted out at a later date, and then I returned to my job. When my contract ended, I returned home and I had time to sort through some of my brother's things that my parents hadn't looked at yet. Among them was his computer, which I was hoping might have some photos or other things of interest on it. I managed to salvage a few good pictures and videos, though most of it was him hanging out with his friends at the time. It was still good to have a few extra memories of him from back then. It was while I was going through the installed programs, I noticed he had Bitcoin software installed. I know he used to buy certain things for himself and his friends online, so it wasn't a surprise to me that he had this. I knew that Bitcoin had gone up in value over the past several years, so part of me hoped that might have had an amount there, but when I ran the Bitcoin program, it said zero balance. I wasn't too surprised at that until I looked at the transaction details. There was regular activity there right up until the week before he passed away, and then nothing after that. Until 2 years ago, when the total balance at the time of 147 Bitcoins was transferred out of it. That made no sense to me, unless someone else had a copy of his account or had hacked them from him somehow. But then I checked the history log on the computer, and lo and behold, it had been started up several times on the date of the transfer happening. Going back to my parents, I asked them if anyone else had used the computer since they got it back from storage. They remembered that yes, 2 years ago, my brother's old roommate looked them up and asked them if they still had his old computer and if he could use it to get a copy of some files to do with their old rental. They had let him use it for a couple of hours and he left afterwards and hadn't heard from him since. I looked him up on social media, and from his post history, it seemed like he suddenly came into serious money, judging from the purchases and activities he was involved with at around the same time. So where do I go from here? The evidence strongly points to his having stolen the Bitcoins, but what are my options? Do I confront him directly, and do I have anything to stand on? My parents went through a lot over the years, and it would be good if I could at least give them back something for all their blood, sweat, and tears, and I know it's what my brother would have wanted. Now, this is an edit that was added the same day. Just an update, I was sent a private message from a fairly notable individual in this subreddit, which I have accepted based on his history and reputation here. On his advice, I will be collecting the computer from my parents' place later today instead of the weekend so we can jump into this ASAP due to this now being out in the open. He is also using his connections to get a free legal opinion from someone qualified in the area. And thank God we have an update because I need to know what happens. The final update came 4.5 years later, February 20th, 2021. Here I am hoping that you nailed the sucker and got all the money back. I originally posted to the relationship sub, but was quickly directed to repost to the Bitcoin sub to see if anyone there could offer any advice. Soon after doing that, I was privately approached by a credible individual from this group with an offer of assistance, which myself and my parents accepted. Through their network of contacts, we received expert technical advice and forensic analysis at absolutely no cost whatsoever, and legal representation that truly understood the issue at hand and was prepared to work on a no-win, no-fee basis. We owe all of these people a massive debt of gratitude for what they have been able to achieve for us here and have finally come to a conclusion in these last few weeks. 4.5 years. The analysis on the computer took several weeks before we heard back, but the results were extremely promising. They had identified that while all the Bitcoins had indeed been transferred to another wallet, not all the Bitcoins in the wallet had been spent. There were still approximately 36 Bitcoins remaining in there that had not been touched. Of what had been spent, there was significant trails of evidence which was used as the starting point of commencing legal action against the individual in question. It has taken time and much of it under non-disclosure, but what I can confirm is that an agreement was made to withdraw our case against him in return for transferring the remaining balance back to my brother's estate. Yesterday, our lawyer let us know that this has now been done and they are handling the technical aspects of this for us, but the upshot is that the cash equivalent of nearly 29 Bitcoins will shortly be transferred to my parents. Victory and justice. That's all I needed. I really needed that news because I was getting pissed. Rekindle relationship with my husband after neighbor's husband admitted being the catfish. What could this mean?
What does it mean?
Oh, this could mean so many things. I'm so excited. I love other people's drama. This story came November 18th, 2022. My husband, 35 male, and I, 30 female, married for 8 years, have been separated for the last 14 months, and I need help and advice on how to rekindle our relationship. We are currently not on speaking terms, and all our arrangements go through our lawyers. But I will have an opportunity over Christmas to clear the air and set things straight, as he will be flying in from Sydney to spend time with the kids. So, what happened? I received a Facebook message in September last year that my husband was talking and exchanging naked photos with other women on Tinder. We spoke on the phone for a bit, and the only proof she had was a screenshot of their conversation and his profile. Long story short, I downloaded Tinder and found his profile, which his location says was less than 1 kilometer away. I was convinced that he was cheating, and we had a terrible fallout that evening, which led to my family coming over to calm the situation, but instead it escalated when my brother punched and grabbed hold of my husband. The neighbors called the police, and my husband was asked to pack a few things and stay elsewhere for a while. We separated shortly after, and he has since moved to Sydney to be closer to his ailing father, but sees our kids for a weekend twice a month. Fast forward to the beginning of November of this year. My neighbor rocked up at my doorstep to tell me that her husband was catfishing women on dating apps using my husband's photos. So your husband didn't cheat on you, and that wasn't him. It was your neighbor who was just using your husband's pictures. You think you've heard it all. He downloaded these photos from a MacBook that we lent him during COVID, and some of these photos were of intimate nature and of me. The police are currently dealing with this. And all of this has been relayed to my husband through his lawyer, but his response has been lukewarm, and he said that we could talk about it over Christmas. I am so scared that we might be down too far down the rabbit hole and that he will likely push for divorce, even though I know that we love each other deeply. But this took a massive toll on our mental health, finances, and the well-being of our 3 kids. What is the best way to approach him in December and make amends? I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing. Luckily, we have an update. This came January 29th, 2023, which was 2 months later. I've had quite a few people ask for an update on what happened after we discovered that it was my neighbor using my ex's photos to catfish other women. Unfortunately, after having sat down and discussed things, it was decided that our marriage was beyond repair and that we should go our separate ways. He is currently in therapy and has requested that we have a clean break with no further contact in the future. I intend to respect his wishes and will continue to communicate through his lawyer on matters that concern our kids. I have since cleared the air with our families and friends and still actively work towards repairing his reputation. I would also like to clarify the assault and why my parents came over in the first place. The night of the argument, I called my mother to ask if I could drop off our kids and if they could spend the evening there, but she was concerned about my emotional state and asked that I stay put and that they would come fetch the kids instead. They arrived and my brother opted to stay outside while my parents came in to grab the kids and their bags. At this point, my father asked to talk to my ex and calm the situation, and my mom dragged me away to get the kids and their bags ready. My brother was very confused when we came outside and was triggered by my mom saying that my ex might have cheated. My brother reacted the moment my ex walked out and grabbed my arm in a non-violent way, leading to the punch and scuffle on the front lawn. He was remorseful and apologized even before we found out that my ex was not to blame. It is a series of unfortunate events that has changed many lives and robbed my family of our love and happiness. Now I have to focus on my kids, my depression, and coming to terms with the divorce. I will never forget, but hopefully the pain won't be as intense. That is so crazy because you have to be fully convinced in your heart and mind that that's really happening because the pictures came from your Mac. The location was a neighbor, so it was technically right by your house. But at the same time, your poor husband was wrongfully accused and lost everything because your neighbor was using his pictures to catfish women. Oh, what a mess. What an absolute mess. That should be an episode of Catfish, the TV show. Next up, my mom has been gaining weight on purpose for her boyfriend over the past year. It's starting to affect her health. What can I do? Okay, interesting. This story came June 10th, 2015. The problem relates to my mother and her weight gain over the last year or so. It started sometime late spring and summer, a few months after she had started dating her current boyfriend, Mike. Prior to that point, she was in decent shape. My mom was always a bit overweight during my childhood and teenage years, but after my parents split up, which was about 2.5 years ago, she started taking better care of herself. We became running and diet partners, and she eventually reached the 130s. Damn! Although her weight still fluctuated some. Good for you. I have not been 130 in the 130s since I was in high school. And I'm not kidding. I was 134 in high school. Definitely not that anymore. Not that that's a bad thing, you guys. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm an adult now. Sometime around late January of the last year, she met Mike. He seemed like a nice enough guy when I met him, and they soon became serious. I think it is important to note that Mike is the first serious relationship my mom has had since her split with my dad. In any event, things were fine heading into the summer of last year. Then, sometime around my high school graduation in June, she told me that she needed to have an important conversation with me. When we talked, she told me that she was going to be seriously cutting back on our runs. She said it was because she wanted to put on some weight and become curvier again. Mike had told her that he preferred women who were more curvy, and she wanted to please him. She also said that she wanted to relax for a little while and not worry so much about her weight. I didn't really think much of it at the time. I assumed that my mom knew what she was doing, so I just left it at that, and I didn't really try to discourage her. She seemed content with her decision, and I was happy to see her relationship with Mike going so well. See, I already hate this. Oh, I prefer curvier women. Then why are you dating me? I don't like that. You shouldn't want to change your partner's body. Maybe I'm just feeling triggered. Maybe I'm being dramatic. Am I being dramatic? I'm always dramatic. After our conversation, my mom cut her runs with me from 4 to 5 days a week to just 1 to 2 days a week, and she started walking instead of running or jogging. She also stopped being so strict with her diet. She had cut things out like soda and junk food in order to lose weight, but she started eating and drinking them again. And as you can guess, she started to put on some of the weight that she had lost. By the time I went to college last fall, she'd probably put on about 15 to 20 pounds, which put her back around what she weighed when she was still with my dad. I wasn't that worried though. My mom carried the weight well and seemed happy with her decision and her relationship with Mike. I didn't see her speak to my mom that much for the next month or so until I came back for fall break. That was the first time I had seen her since the weekend, and she had put on even more weight. I didn't ask her how much. I didn't really think it was any of my business at that point, but I thought it would be okay if I tried to subtly encourage her to be a little healthier, especially since she stopped exercising altogether by this point. I tried to get her to go on a run with me over the break, but she would just give me an excuse each time, like it's too cold, she's too tired, etc. Or Mike would discourage her. I also couldn't help but notice that her diet had become even worse. It seemed like almost everything she ate now was fast food or some kind of junk food. I suspected that this was mostly Mike's doing since he was always bringing home unhealthy food and avoiding things like fruits or vegetables. Still, I didn't really feel like it was my place to say anything yet, so I let it be. I did ask her if things with Mike were okay or if something was bothering her. She said that everything was fine, so I just said okay. I went back to school and I didn't come back home again until Thanksgiving break. But it was more of the same. My mom had gained some more weight. I am not sure exactly what she weighed at this point, but I know that she was larger. I hadn't planned to say anything, but I got worried after watching her eat over the break. Even though I knew it was normal for people to indulge over Thanksgiving, it seemed like she was always eating. I would see Mike constantly bringing her snacks or something, and mom would just eat it. Even if she said she was full or not hungry, he would make a big fuss until she gave in and ate whatever it was that he brought her. I made a point to speak to my mom and I told her that I noticed she had still been gaining weight and it was starting to worry me. I told my mom that if she continued to gain weight, it would be a negative impact on her health. She told me that she has just been enjoying herself and the freedom of not having to worry about her weight and what she was eating. She said that Mike told her that he didn't care if she gained more weight after the first 20 pounds, and he had actually encouraged her to get bigger and curvier. I asked her why she had decided to stop caring about herself and her weight, and my mom told me that Mike had helped her see that she was always meant to be an overweight woman. She now believed that she looked better if she was larger and said that she planned to gain even more weight. I asked her when she planned to stop and she said when she got to around 200 pounds. Let's keep in mind, she was 130 before. I don't know her height. Like, everyone's frame is different too. 200 pounds on one person will look very different than 200 pounds on somebody else. That's just a fact. I've actually weighed like the same weight sometimes. Like, let's say 150 pounds. I could have two pictures from years apart weighing 150 pounds and I look completely different in both of those photos. I sort of lost it there. I told her that she was eating herself to death and that she needed to be healthier, to be more active, and to lose some weight. We had a huge fight and I wound up leaving early to go back to school. After the Thanksgiving incident, she messaged me and told me that she was an adult and would not be lectured or be controlled by a child. My mom also told me if I wanted to live in her house, I needed to respect her choices and not interfere with them or her relationship with Mike. I also got an email from Mike. It said basically the same thing: respect my relationship with your mother and her choices, or don't come home. He had moved into my mom's house by this point. I decided to spend Christmas and New Year's with my dad and his family, and I didn't come home during the spring semester. I just recently finished school and moved back into my mom's house for the summer. I had kept up with her through Facebook and knew that she had still been gaining weight, but I didn't realize how big she had gotten until I got home. I would guess she is somewhere around, if not over, 200 pounds now. Everything about her is bigger. She doesn't even look like my mom anymore because of how much weight she has gained in her face. She is mostly sedentary now, other than what she does at her office during the day. After she gets home, she sits on the couch and gorges herself. I am shocked at how much she eats now. Mike is always bringing her food and encouraging her to eat, and she is happy to stuff herself each night until she has a bellyache. My mom will also wake up each night to go into the kitchen to fix herself a snack, which is really just another large meal. They don't even hide the fact that my mom is actively trying to get fatter. Mike has encouraged my mom to buy larger sizes of clothing for my mom so that she has room to grow, and she agreed. I also heard Mike and my mom talk about her trading in her car to get something that will be more comfortable for her as she gets bigger. It is crazy. Okay, but I've seen, where did I see something? It was on a show. It was on like a TLC show or My Strangest Addiction or something. I forget. But it was about how this is in fact a fetish of like men will hire women to like gorge and eat and gain weight and send them videos of it. This is a thing. I don't know the word, but I've seen it in the show, you guys. I've seen it in a show. I know this is what they both want, but the extra weight is starting to impact her health. She gets out of breath very easily now and complains if she has to do a moderate amount of physical activity, like example, walking a long distance from a parking lot to a store. She also has developed minor knee and back problems, and she's always tired, and I know that this will only get worse if she continues to gain weight. However, she blames these problems on age and her asthma rather than her weight. It is breaking my heart to see her doing this to herself, "I am so afraid that she's going to die young and leave me without my mother if she continues down this path." I tried bringing up the subject again the other night, even though I knew that Mike and my mom would get upset. I asked her at dinner if we could maybe try to eat less fast food and junk food, and if she could stop trying to actively gain weight, and she got mad. She told me that I was a vain person and that not everyone wanted to be a shapeless rail. Some women want to have curves. After that, Mike came into my room and told me that if I said anything else, my mom had agreed with him that I would have to find another place to live for the summer. This man is coming between you and your mom, and that's really sad. Also, though, your mom is agreeing to everything, so it's not just him. He also told me that I needed to accept that my mom is a larger woman and that she will be getting larger. I asked him what he meant, and he mentioned that she said she would stop at around 200 pounds, and he told me that they both had decided that she should just keep gaining past that. I got angry with him, but was afraid to say more. I don't doubt that he would kick me out of my mom's house, and I am not sure if my mom would try to stop him. I tried contacting my sister about this, but seeing as she lives in another state and doesn't get along with our mom, she didn't really have anything to say. My dad doesn't want to get involved either, since he has a fiance and his own life. I would speak to some of my mom's friends, but I don't know if that would work. She hasn't had much to do with them since she started dating Mike, so I don't know if they would feel comfortable intervening. There aren't any close family members on my mom's side that I could talk to. I guess I'm wondering if it is better to take a desperate stand or bite my tongue and try to help my mom in a more subtle way. Or should I just accept that my mom is an adult and has to make her own choices and mistakes? I mean, it's really unfortunate because you're not caring about her being a larger woman. You're caring about her health aspect of it. It's not even really about the weight gain, it's about her health. I think we all care about our parents' overall health, but she's gonna do what she wants to do as an adult, and that's very tricky. We have an update though, and this came 2.5 months later. Let's drink some water first though. Cheers! Drink some water, but let me know what you're drinking on today. Cheers. Drinking on. What are you drinking on today? I didn't know that we drank on things. Well, I'm drinking on a chair. I read all of the comments that people made in my first post many times, but I was still unsure on whether or not I should say anything and risk getting kicked out of my mom's house. However, I felt like I had to say something after I continued to watch my mom, at Mike's encouragement, overeat. I came to the conclusion that my mom's life and health were too important for me to stand by and say nothing while she slowly herself. I knew that I would stand a better chance to help her if I planned out my strategy ahead of time instead of getting angry and exploding like I've done in the past, which went very poorly. I did what one of you suggested, and I invited my mom out to eat lunch one day so I could get a chance to speak with her alone. Yeah, Mike can off. I knew that if Mike were around, I would have no chance of getting her to listen to me. Like some of you suggested, I printed off some materials about abusive relationships and feeder relationships. Maybe that's the word I was thinking of, to give to her when our conversation was over. At lunch, I basically repeated what I had told her in the past, that I was concerned about her health because I wanted her to be around for a long time. But I did emphasize that I respected her role as my mother and her ability to make choices for herself as an adult. I told her that I was just concerned and I wanted her to have the ability to make informed choices, but ultimately I would respect whatever decision she reached. My mom did not respond to what I said well. She started getting upset and she got particularly angry about me mentioning feeder relationships. She told me that none of this applied in her case. Mike just liked curvy women. She also accused me of being jealous and insecure about her relationship with Mike, and she said some other hurtful things. She continued to deny that her relationship with Mike was abusive and that her weight was causing her any health problems, even though I think there's no longer any doubt that both are true. When we got back home, she told me that I had 2 days to move out, so I spent the rest of the summer at my dad's house. I didn't see my mom again until 2 weeks ago. I had to go back to her place to pick up some stuff that I left there. I can't say that I was surprised to see that she continued to put on weight. I was surprised to see the state of the house though. It was an absolute mess. There were all kinds of takeout boxes and food containers all over the place. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned since I left. I tried to get out as quickly as I could, but before I left, my mom said she wanted to speak with me. She told me that I needed to know that Mike asked her to marry him and she had accepted his proposal. The wedding would be taking place soon, and I was invited to come if I apologized to the two of them for my behavior. She then informed me that they were looking to move to Oregon. Mike has family out there, and since my mom has no close friends or family here anymore, mostly because of Mike, she thought it would be a good idea to start over. I didn't really know what to say, so I just told her that I was glad she was happy. I honestly don't know what, if anything, I can do. I want to believe that there's something else I can do, but I have no idea what that could be. I hope that she will eventually realize what Mike is doing and will ask for help. That was not the update that I was hoping for. That really wasn't. And there were no other updates after this, so I don't know if we got the happy ending we were wanting with this one. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on this, you guys. We'll see you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy.